Our next guest is Jim Collison. You know him from TheAverageGuy.tv, home Gadget Geeks, Cyber Frontiers, and as the co-host of Ask the Podcast Coach. And he's also been very instrumental in leading the way in bringing podcasts and live streaming into the enterprise through his work with Gallup. He works with the Gallup coaches and the Gallup coaching blog, and has several webcasts, which are both live streams and podcasts on that site, as well as the StrengthsFinder, and does a whole bunch of other things with Gallup as well. We welcome Jim Collison to Livestream Deals and our 1-year anniversary episode. Welcome, Jim.
Ross, thank you. Congratulations on 1 year. Exciting times.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. I figured it'd be fun to talk about the other side of what you do. We've talked a lot about your podcast through AverageGuy.tv and Ask the Podcast Coach. I've actually talked to some live streamers who somewhere along the line we were talking about what we like to do and what's next and all that. And they've actually mentioned to me that they've taken the StrengthsFinder assessment and they found it really helpful and said that I should take it. And I haven't taken it yet, but I think it's a great. The feedback was so great that I said let's have Jim on and get an inside look at what's going on. So let's start off with what it is and what the name is, because it's been sort of rebranded as CliftonStrengths, and I want to make sure that people know we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, no, for 15 years it's been StrengthsFinder, and really StrengthsFinder became a kind of a generic term. Even the strengths movement is really big right now. A lot of people realizing if they spend time focusing on what they're best at, as opposed to trying to learn things they're not good at, right? That's really the essence of strength. It's not magic and it's not voodoo. It's just really kind of understanding, right? And so we called it StrengthsFinder. We wanted to kind of differentiate it in the market from the other versions of strengths. And so we renamed that CliftonStrengths. Don Clifton, of course, the founder and really kind of the first one to develop this assessment. 177 paired question assessment, takes about 30 minutes, super easy. You can work through that. For a top 5, it's $20. You could get all 34 of your themes, these talent themes, right? We believe that we can identify these themes, these things you do really well, group them into words like learner or analytical or activator, some things that really kind of set a framework for you to be able to kind of find that best version of you, right? The crazy thing, Ross, is that it's not a label, right? These aren't things, we don't tell you what to do. We just give you some clues to like, hey, here's some things, here's some ways of doing things. You might be really good at it, right? Then it's up to you to really kind of take the next step and take your performance to the next level.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when things come naturally to us, which many of the things that we're best at do, we take for granted that that's a strength or a special skill because it comes naturally to us. So we figure, everybody else must understand this too. There's nothing special about it. So it's good to get that feedback and realize which of the things that you're doing really stand out as a strength vis-a-vis, kind of the rest of the population.
Yeah. I mean, think if you're a learner, like say you're like a person who likes the process of learning things. Well, there's some jobs, and it's, by the way, it doesn't mean you should be in education as a college student for the rest of your life, right? But there may be some jobs where learning is a benefit in the role, right? Or you get to learn all the time, or you're learning new things, right? And so it really helps us have a framework around these ideas, these thoughts of performance to help us find those things that we like and enjoy. I mean, Michael Jordan is a perfect example, right? Great athlete, tremendous basketball player, not at the pro level though to baseball. That didn't always translate, right? Really good at basketball, not so great at baseball. He would have to work really hard to be as good at baseball as he was at basketball. His talents resided there. A lot of us, it's the same way, right? We just need to find, a lot of times we need to find those things. And it takes a while. Like you can't just change overnight on these. Sometimes you've gotten yourself into a job doesn't fit right. Takes a little bit of time. Ross, you and I, we enjoy communicating, right? We have a theme called communication, and you and I really like that, and we're good at it, right? And so we're trying to put ourselves in situations where we can really have success.
Yeah, and to some degree, I think when it's a strength, while we certainly have our interests that we like to talk about, and For you, a lot of them revolve around tech and podcasting, and for me, it's live streaming and broadcasting and podcasting. So there's some overlap there, right? But I think we feel to some degree fulfilled when we're doing anything that involves communicating, right? I mean, so take us and have us communicate about sports or news, or use social media for an account that doesn't touch on any of our interests. And after we kind of learn the lingo in the field a little bit, it sort of becomes that, okay, this feels very natural. Like I'm doing what I do.
Yeah, we have this role at church, which we call service host. And it's the person who spends 1 minute opening the service and 1 minute closing it when we're done, right? And it's a job I really like to do. And has nothing to do with tech. It has nothing to do with strengths. It has nothing to do with anything I do. It's a welcoming, and I really enjoy those kinds of things. I would MC, I do wedding DJ music stuff, right? I'm not really a DJ, but I play music at weddings. I MC things. Like, those are all skills where I really, really, I like doing them. I feel like I'm pretty good. People invite me back. That's a good, a good indication you're doing something right, right? People, hey, can you do that again? That's kind of the best of the thing. So the magic in this, or when we think about StrengthsFinder, the beauty in it is it gives us a common framework so that you and I can have a conversation around performance and use the same lexicon, right? Use the same terminology. You and I have been talking about this idea of communication. Well, it has some definitions around it, so we can talk about it. It just gives us a common language. If I'm your manager or I'm your manager, we can have performance conversations and have a similar dialogue, right? Know what we're talking about. It's just standardize it into these 34 common theme names that kind of makes sense. Like I said, activator, arranger, election, deliberative. Like, those words make sense to us in a lot of ways.
So
they help us have a conversation.
Self-discovery, but it's also good in how you relate with other people as you start to understand and identify what their strengths are, and then know that, know the audience you're communicating to, right? Like, if you're making a presentation at work to financial people, you probably want to have some numbers in there. If you're making a presentation to creative people, you probably want to inspire a little.
Yeah. And Ross, you hit right on. We always say strengths develops best in the context of another human being. Mm-hmm. And so these things aren't meant to be just, kept internal. It really works best when you and I understand that framework, and then we work together. Oftentimes in relationships where we're working, right, at work, it can get kind of tense, but when you know that person, it speeds the process of getting to know them. And then when you understand what they do well, or they do best, or what they like to do, it gives me the ability to quicker kind of connect with you and just get our performance going faster. Really, it's really a performance increasing or velocity changing tool that just allows you to be more productive.
You're watching Livestream Deals. Livestreamdeals.com is the website. You can find out more information about Clifton Strengths, and there's also a link to the book, StrengthsFinder 2.0. If you buy the book, you will also get the assessment with that. But there's also other ways you can learn about what Jim does and learn about what all the different offerings of Clifton Strengths. Jim, tell us how people can find out more information.
Yeah, we have a big, giant community around this, and don't let the name of the site throw you off. It's coaching. So coaching.gallup.com, not just for coaches. A lot of the resources around, really, we got to coach ourselves on this deal. So we have blogs, we have podcasts, we've got YouTube videos. You can watch on all 34 teams, get coaching advice. There's all kinds of things you can do. Again, that's coaching.gallup.com.
And tell us about the podcast, webcasts, live streams that you host each week, because you have quite a full schedule with that, in addition to your own stuff with the averageguy.tv. Tell us about your Gallup.
You got to be careful what you wish for when you take your hobby to work, because then they start asking you to do more. When we started with Called to Coach, right, really a show, we were training coaches all around the world on how to coach this method, this StrengthsFinder, this Clifton Strengths method. And I knew when we first started doing this, I thought, hey, I have a way to communicate with literally millions of people around the world all at the same time. we called it podcasting, right? In the early days of live streaming, we chose YouTube to help us do the live streaming. But so we do both a live show for coaches. They can come and watch us, or they can watch the recorded version, right? We do it 3 different time zones. So I do one in the United States, I do one in Sydney, Australia, and I do one in India. Yeah, I'm up at midnight to do the India one. Now you got to do it in the time zone that you are there. Really primarily for communication to these coaches that have come to our courses or that are coaching around the world. It's free for everybody. So anybody can watch it. We make them available. And then Ross, quickly after we started Call to Coach, we had a little splinter of that show that we call Theme Thursday. So we take every year we have a season. We're in season 4 right now. And we take a theme and we talk about it for an hour. And so if you want to, say you took the assessment, communication, like you and I have been talking about one of those themes.
Right.
I have already 4 hours of professional development training available for you on YouTube or through the blog or through the podcast that you can watch or listen to and get more information on these themes, right? We have believed at Gallup that getting this information out, training folks around the world, we want 1 billion people to take this assessment, Ross. So I got to get the material out there so 1 billion people can learn. Well, guess what? 1 billion people on YouTube, no problem. Like, we can get that. Well, I don't know if they've gone to 1 billion. Maybe I'll be the first one to go to 1 billion on you. Anyways, so that's we do a lot of those kinds of programs, but we choose to do live stream first. Everything is live streamed, and then we pull that off, make it a recording, edit it a little bit, and then drop that out for our audience.
It sounds fantastic, the work you're doing, and my hunch that this would be helpful to live streamers, podcasters, online content creators, based on some of the feedback that I had gotten from other people who have taken the assessment, definitely rings true with everything you've been saying. And congratulations on all the success in really being a pioneer and bringing live streaming and podcasting into the enterprise. Before we let you go, any advice for people? I know we're kind of product focused in this show, but for our live streamers, podcasters, and those who are passionate about creating this type of content, any advice for how you would go about perhaps bringing up the suggestion of your organization? If you're not the boss, you're not the owner, how you would suggest that perhaps a podcast or a live stream might be the way for them to expand their reach, enhance their services, just basically do all the things that we love to do when it comes to connecting with people and making them feel a part of the community and building that loyalty.
Yeah, no, right on. It's a question that used to be harder to answer 4 or 5 years ago when I first started doing this for the enterprise. I've been podcasting for 7 or 8 years now. And it was a harder to answer, but it's so easy now. Oftentimes when I'm talking to senior leaders and I say, tell me how your children learn things now these days. And like when they need to do something, or even when you need to do something, what do you do? And they always say, well, I YouTube it. Right. Of course, right? They go to YouTube to get it. And I say, so do you think there's some valid reason that we shouldn't be out there educating our customers on what our product is? And we have a pretty complicated product, and we're not the only one with a complicated product. And it requires lots of education and lots of help, and it just works better that way. The cost is very low. Like, when you think about a person's time and some development and maybe some editing and things, that is nothing compared to any, Ross, this. Just do a regular nationwide marketing campaign. See how much that costs, right? And so when you compare the costs, when you compare the resources and the chance you get to control it and influence it, I just tell people it's a slam dunk. If your business does not have some kind of marketing through live streaming, you're missing the boat. Listen, I'm watching people mow their lawns out there, right? And this kind of stuff. Cut trees down. Like, there's people watching. Chances are your business is interesting enough to have a live, a live stream, a broadcast, a podcast, any of those. Great ways to get your marketing message out and really control it and have it come from your company, right? Yeah. Oftentimes I'm recognized as the voice or the face of Gallup because of what I do. And that is something I didn't intend to do it, by the way. It just kind of happened because I did all this work.
You're not the owner, the founder.
No.
Because face of Gallup to a lot of us. It is true.
No, right on. It's kind of the way it works. But you too, like, a small business of one, you could be the face of your company in this space in a live stream, have tremendous amount of influence just by having an interesting webcast, podcast, live stream all about your product. So it's a slam dunk. Ross, I don't know if we should really even have to convince people anymore.
Yeah.
Get out there, get something interesting that's in your style, that fits to what you're best at, your strengths. Just get it out there. It's slow at the start. It might take a little while for it to catch on, but it's amazing when you start getting some listeners around it.
Jim Collison, thank you so much wisdom always, every time we chat. Really do appreciate it. He's with Gallup. The book is StrengthsFinder 2.0. You can find that at livestreamdeals.com. And again, Jim, for those who want to check out your shows, your resources, and the full panoply of offerings from Clifton Strengths, what is that website again that they should go to?
Yeah, the easiest place to go for all the resources that's available, coaching.gallup.com.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Jim.
You bet, Ross. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And again, congratulations on 1 year.
Thanks.